pumping like a piston, I can hear him yelling, wait up. Whole world I've been lifting, plot is thickening, I stay up. You don't know what it cost me. Now I'm chilling in the penthouse, living lofty. Pray before you cross me. Shut up while I'm talking. While I run up stocks, you all on my IG stalking. Man, get out my face. Keep on stepping to a king, or you bound to catch a fade. Hope you live to see tomorrow. It ain't have to be that way. Go ahead and try to plead your case. I'm just trying to feed a face. Got my family and my crew. I'm just trying to keep it straight. Name your price and we inflated. We came here from out of state. Landlord and this eviction got you feeling out of place. Way back was poverty stricken, now I kick it with the grace. Call it what you wanna call it, but I know it's fake. I really am a diamond from the dirt. It was really perfect timing in a blur. Wrote the record in the curse. Off the record, I had no one to console me when it hurts. For what it's worth, the glass is half full. I'm foolish, guess you were right. Doubted my whole life, but that all changes tonight. The price is going up, it ain't what it was in the past. But shoot, it's your last laugh.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake. And boy, we got some new emojis that I am excited about. We're here looking at some familiar faces here in the chat. Haven't seen them in pixel form before. We've got Cortez Crimson. We've got Wicked Foxy Dragon. We've got the Anti-Corporatist. We have Pinkerbell, Doug, Kodiak from Parts Unknown, and also the Left Past 10 gang. Indeed. You're all just joining us from the letter hack. Thank you. If you've wandered in from other parts of the internet, inexplicably, I've managed to reach you despite actively not trying for several months, and I'm shocked. Hello. Delighted to see you. Boy, I got some news for you, and it's a bit of a shock. But it turns out Republican politicians are not good people. Yeah, that'll be a thing to look at. Let's say hi to the gang first, though. Donald James, hello. I gotta do one of you too, my guy. That's just hitting me as an obvious one. The Anti-Corporatist is wicked. Then what can you do? Oh, what have I done? Did I say WCYD? Yeah. That's when you throw your hands up. What can you do? Oh, Anti-Corporatist, good to see you. Wireless Mike, hello. Wicked Foxy Dragon. Gladius Ostentus. Well, hello. You are the person described earlier. Pinkerbell, neat song. That was Danger by Bryce Green. One of my favorites. Donald James, hello, y'all. Oh, no, I'm just riffing. Well, fair enough. You would have absolutely, for the record, been able to convince me of that. You are somehow the only person I know who has a dry delivery via text. It's impressive. Let's talk. Let's talk about GOP shenanigans. This will come as a shock to absolutely no one at all who follows politics, but the least popular party is becoming less popular. Have you seen CPAC? Have you seen it this time around? Now, for me, it feels like there's a new CPAC literally every month. That's how it feels. I realize it's not the case, but that's how it feels. Remember when they had a sign, a giant crawling LED light sign that said, "We are all domestic terrorists." Well, apparently, acknowledging that you're a bunch of filthy terrorists is not a good advertisement. because the CPAC seats were looking like this. That was the attendance for CPAC this year. That's, if you're not aware, CPAC is the gathering of conservatives. It's supposed to essentially be, it's a convention for the Republicans who are the movers and shakers of the modern party, and that is what it has truly become. It's very representative of the party as a whole. For example, Matt Schlapp was the leader of CPAC until recently, I believe. And as is standard for Republican politicians, he groped somebody against their will and is weathering a scandal about that. Somebody who was working for a Republican campaign, Matt Schlapp apparently reached over and grabbed their genitals. They did not, upon taking him to his hotel room and dropping him off, which was their job, to drive him around. He then called them furiously, and trying to take it back. Essentially, they didn't respond to the call, and then Matt Schlapp didn't give up, kept harassing them, and now Matt Schlapp is weathering what we're calling a standard Republican sex scandal. Do you remember when Donald Trump, the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, hosted a Nazi at his house? What he did with Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, an out-and-out Nazi, a well-known bigot, uses the N-word freely on his streams. Nick Fuentes does. Hung out with Kanye West when West was ranting about how much he loved Hitler. These are facts. Not an opinion in sight so far, just facts. That apparently leads to attendance like this. A lot of empty seats at CPAC. It's an embarrassing thing. It's an embarrassing thing. Be a Republican these days. As well it should. Keep up the good work, folks. When somebody in your presence admits they are even a little bit Republican, bust their balls. Call them out for what they are. There's somebody that at a minimum, and this is what I'd recommend you stick with, does not understand how the world works. They're a sap. They're a target of con artists. That's what it means to be a Republican. If you say, I'm a Republican, you're saying, I'm a gullible dupe. I will buy a bridge in Brooklyn, sight unseen, from a gentleman in a tweed coat and a straw hat who rushes out of town in the middle of the night. That's what they're saying they are. They certainly do not understand what politicians do. They don't understand the effects of the policies voted for by the various parties. If they're saying they're a Republican, they are acknowledging that they have no idea how anything works, and they shouldn't be trusted. They should. Well, let me take this back. They shouldn't be making important decisions, and they should be informed of that. Just stay home. You're a Republican? Yeah, just stay home. You don't know how any of this works. You know, I understand you're trying to pretend like you do, and that you come from a culture where you're supposed to say you're Republican, but really what you're doing is making your own life, and mine and everybody else's, but let's talk selfishly, your own life much, much harder. And so instead of doing that, instead of doing an errand to go and vote, and resulting in your own life being harder, what you should do instead is just stay home. If you want to learn about how this stuff works, yeah, learn about how it works, but don't, you Republican voter, go out and vote until you do know how. And come check with me, because obviously you can't trust your own opinion. You're a Republican. You don't know things. This year's Conservative Political Action Conference reportedly has a smaller room and turnout when compared with past years, such as when they acknowledged they were all domestic terrorists. CPAC started Wednesday and continues until Saturday in Washington, D.C., featuring speakers including former President Donald Trump, a guy that had dinner with Nazis, Representative Elise Stefanik, and Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan, a guy that covered up the diddling of the college students he was in charge of protecting when he was their assistant coach. Jim JYM Jordan. Senator J.D. Vance, a traitor. Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, a con artist. Former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, comes from a cult, never really left it. My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell, who just lost a $5 million case because he challenged people. He said he would give $5 million to anyone that could prove that he didn't have proof of voter fraud. Somebody immediately proved that he didn't have proof of voter fraud. Now a court, because Republicans can't just, be adults and accept when they've lost a challenge fair and square, he took it to court. The court has now said, yes, you plank. Yes, you absolute doorknob. You lost. It has been proven. Give the person their money. You made the bet. Pay up. Republican Welch. Representative Byron Donald, Senator Tommy Tuberville, who recently made fun of Joe Biden for not being able to walk down airplane stairs, and then himself fell downstairs to an airplane. And Laura Trump, some flank that married into the Trump family. Trump's daughter-in-law and his pick for co-chair of the Republican National Committee, I actually forgot about that, spoke on Thursday. Some speakers are purportedly being considered by Trump as a vice presidential candidate. Well, I'll tell you, all of those people are incompetent enough that Trump wouldn't feel threatened by them. He should, because nobody is more incompetent than him. But those people are all comically incompetent. So, he would be able to imagine them looking dumber than him. Images and videos shared Thursday on X, formerly Twitter, now call it the Internet's X, show dozens of empty seats during one speech. Former British Prime Minister Liz Truss, another gem, walks on stage at CPAC to polite applause and dozens of empty seats, wrote The Guardian's Washington bureau chief David Smith, accompanied by a photo of the sparse audience. Gang, we are in an extended battle for decency. And we have very few social tools that have prepared us for this. What have we seen in the great battles that would decide how the world was going to go forward? We've seen about 100,000 World War II movies. Planks drop down on the landing craft on D-Day. First row of people gets mowed down. Ah! You go running out over your buddy's corpse. You're firing your Garand, trying to get some Nazis. Ass and blood everywhere. What else have we seen? Standing on the walls, firing arrows down at the horde of orcs charging them. Gotta hold out. May the riders from Rohan arrive soon. This is not the battle given to us. We choose the principles we fight over. We rarely get to choose the field. Field is just where the two opposing forces happen to run into each other so much of the time. Well, the field and the matter of battle is going to be boring. Going to be a series of redundant conversations. It's going to be convincing uninterested people to do simple things and then reminding them many times. It's going to be explaining with probably nearly identical conversation to a couple of people each why Republicans are not to be trusted. It's going to be voting. It's going to be union organizing. It's going to be the 10,000 emails you write between now and 5 years from now. A lot of tedious work, but you've already been doing it. There's some of the good news. You guys have been having these conversations. And it's working. It's embarrassing to be a Republican. It's not a thrilling thing to attend CPAC anymore. You don't feel like if you're a Republican, you don't feel like you're on the verge of a movement. You feel like you are hanging out too late at the party. Make it keep feeling like that. Sneer at Republicans. Look down on them. But make sure you offer them a way out. Make sure that when you tell Republicans, gee, you seriously, you really intend to vote Republican, how about this? Just stay home. Give them something else to do. You don't have to be a Republican. You're better. You're better than those cons. Are you a mark? Are you really admitting to me right now that you are the people who con artists live off of? Is that what you're saying? You don't have to be. Tomorrow you could wake up and be a strong person. Think about that. Tomorrow you could wake up, no longer be fleeced by these con artists. Keep talking like that. Keep understanding what's happening in the news so that when you come across somebody who pretends to, you can call them out on it. We will be victorious. Won't be glorious. It's going to feel great in the end. Let's see what the Wicked community has. Well, the Mike's Dead Show. Hello. Now, one of these times, brother man, I am going to feature one of your clips on the same night you're in the audience. I will make sure you are tagged. The owners of the house already have their pajamas on. That could be true in a lot of senses. Bella Lugrisi, good to see you. Larry two times says, we need to do a better job of talking to blue-collar workers. Yes, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I would like to know what your suggestions are. Suggestions in terms of how your old pal Jake can reach him and what we should be talking about. I'll say this. Talking about unions seems to be the best way that I can think of to talk to blue-collar workers. But I also think talking about specific issues in general. I realize that's an oxymoron. But I mean any discussion of specific issues is the way to approach it. I realize I just did a whole thing about you vote Republican. Ugh. But if you want to change somebody's politics, maybe a good way to segment into the just don't be a mark anymore conversation would be to discuss the specific things they've lost. I was just in Sandy's channel, and she was talking about how Lake Erie, once again, didn't freeze. Well, in Michigan, that is a big deal. In Michigan, we have people that love ice fishing. Nobody's been able to ice fish this year. There's been no reliable ice. We had maybe 1 week where the lakes were frozen over, but I didn't trust the lakes. I wasn't willing to go skating, in part because I have a terminal lack of coordination, but also because I would have fallen through. So discussing with them as sportsmen and saying, putting it to you straight here, gentlemen, ladies, you're not fishing because of Republicans. If you'd have stopped voting Republican in the 90s, and all your friends would have too, then you'd be going ice fishing. You'd have a winter with a lot of 30-degree days instead of 2 or 3 0-degree days and a bunch of 40 to 50-degree days. But you did vote Republican, and so you lost winter. That's a consequence of you falling for con artists. Just don't vote for Republicans. That's my initial thought. What do you think, Bella? Rex Trek, good to see you. Groove Dragon, raise the minimum wage. Whatever happened to raising the federal minimum wage? Yeah, I wholeheartedly want to bring that back. I think if Joe Biden tries to run on that, he's going to get laughed at, unfortunately, because he had an opportunity to try and he failed. Doesn't matter why he failed. It's just a fact that he failed. But I do think that's what we have in that particular avenue of attack is a case for a progressive. You can raise state minimum wages. I would say all progressive state level representatives should run on raising the state minimum wage. In our states, we have the ability to set up a decent life for the citizen. Do not forget that. I know in terms of leftists, we think, well, how do you help everybody? Sometimes you help everybody by helping yourself in a way that is exemplary, that can set a pattern that is followed by others. Please, no matter who you decide you are going to vote for or not vote for in November, do go to the voting booth and do put progressives in power. You can do it. You can do it locally all the way up to the White House. Hey, says the anti-corporatist, one of my smart and hyper well-informed labor friends today told me that as long as you aren't an employer, you can join the IWW union. Isn't that International Workers Union? Let's have a look. Right off the bat, I don't like that they don't say who they are in the description. But if this is what I think it is, you better believe I'm going to promote it. AC, you've got me. I'm gonna have a gander. We have another story. Oh, I've been waiting for this one, gang. But I should probably record it. Well, who else thought that new speaker wasn't going to last all that long? You were correct. Republicans push for discharge petition against Mike Johnson. Do you remember when Kevin McCarthy had to beg MAGA to let him be speaker, and in doing so agreed to set up rules that made it easy to kick him out? Well, he made it about 1 year before he got kicked out, and he was replaced by Mike Johnson, who is just exactly a standard politician, by which I mean he nods to the worst instincts of his party, or rather he is loyal to the worst instincts of his party, while appearing to be a reasonable person. Polite, in other words. Polite. Now, no knock against politeness, but that doesn't mean as much as people give it credit for. This is from Newsweek. Campaign group Republicans for Ukraine are launching a 6-figure advertising blitz urging GOP House members to support a discharge petition to pass a bill containing additional military aid for Ukraine after Speaker Mike Johnson declined to bring it to a vote. On February 13th, the Senate passed a $95 billion package, including an additional $60 billion in aid for Ukraine, but it must also be approved by the House before President Joe Biden can sign it into law. Currently, Johnson is refusing to hold a vote on the package, which he claimed is silent on the most pressing issue facing our country, in reference to illegal immigration. That for the record, that means he is letting Ukrainians die in a rather sadistic way. No ammo for their guns to fend off the Ruskies. He's letting actual brave people who are willing to go out and fight a war for freedom die so that he can stop other people from pursuing the American dream. That's who Republicans are. On Wednesday, Republicans for Ukraine announced a six-figure digital ad campaign aimed at the 10 House Republicans that seem most likely to sign a discharge petition. Notice that, gang. A six-figure digital ad campaign aimed at just 10 people. Think about the amount of influence you could have with just a drop of savviness. Couple of well-placed emails. Pretend to be a lifelong Republican. It don't matter. These people lie to you, fucking lie to them. Or just hint. Hinting ain't lying. Pretend to be a lifelong Republican and say, I can't believe you've refused to support Ukraine. I don't know if I'll be able to vote for you. May I say, A discharge petition, which would require the support of 218 House members, including at least 4 Republicans, could allow the aid package to go to vote without Johnson's backing. Supporters of Ukraine are confident they have the numbers needed to pass the package in the House if they can get it to a vote. Speaking to Newsweek, Republicans for Ukraine spokesperson, son of a gun, Gunnar Raymer, said, for generations, the Republican Party prided itself on standing up to dictators and leading the free world. Many Republicans, including many in Congress, still identify with that party and the role for America right now, Right now, the critical issue in the world is whether free countries will help defeat Putin and Ukraine. I'm going to talk about this on the other side because I introduced it wrong. I thought we were talking about kicking Johnson out of the speakership and pushing through a bill, or rather, in order to push through a bill. Not so. It's just a workaround. Oh well. I still believe that Johnson's days are numbered in that position because he has got a vote coming up that it's not going to do very well. And I'll tell you this, I love that strategy. Speaking of, let's talk about Ukraine. That is rather a sad update, but one we should have. That discharge petition didn't come from nowhere. The issue at hand is that a U.S. ally is losing a war because the United States is a weak ally. The thing that makes us weak are Republicans. As always, the thing that makes the United States weak is the Republican Party. We're a weak ally because we have got Russian disinformation eagerly eaten up by the absolute most gullible planks in the universe, Republican voters. We have Republican politicians bought off by Russia. We have an extraordinarily corrupt country. It's corrupt mostly in one party, and it is corrupted mostly by Russia these days. Really, oligarchs of all stripes. Republican Party is the problem. Just so you know, let me give a little more context. Just so you know, for complete clarity here. In the 90s, when the Soviet Union broke up, Ukraine had nukes. We, in the United States, quite rightly, wanted to live in a world that did not have a bunch of countries with nuclear missiles pointed at each other. So we told Ukraine, if you give up your nukes, we will protect you from invasion. Simple deal. Ukraine gave up its nukes. Then they got invaded by Russia. We did nothing. I'm talking about 2014 with Obama. Sat on our damn hands. We let them take Crimea. And they tried again. And now Republicans are why they're losing the war. They were winning until recently. They were winning until Republicans cut off their aid. Democrats miraculously found their nuts and actually backed the efforts of our allies to fight off Russian invaders. Volodymyr Zelensky pleads for more arms as frontline Ukrainian city falls. There's an actual leader. There's somebody worthy of respect having to plead for his people, willing to plead for his people. Apparently, I'm just going to be reading the first paragraph for you, but that is all that caught my eye. Volodymyr Zelensky issued a desperate plea for fresh arms on Saturday as his army commanders announced that Ukrainian troops were pulling out of the key eastern city of Avdiivka, handing Moscow its first major military victory since last May, just days before the second anniversary of the Russian invasion. We're bad allies. We're weak allies, frankly. Doesn't matter how much strength is in our arms if we're asleep. Wake up. Republicans make us weak. They make us bad allies. When Americans travel around the world and we get made fun of, we're made fun of because of the reputation that Republicans have earned for us. When we go around the world and we are hated because of the reputation that Republicans have earned for us. And even if you're not a Republican, you are a member of a country who has failed to stop the Republicans. I am as well. My whole life, I've been sitting here saying these folks are bad and I failed to stop them. All of us should accept that responsibility, but acknowledge that Republicans really and truly are the villains here. Beat them. There is no reason that a reasonable person would ever vote for a Republican. You're an evangelist now. If you come across a Republican, explain to them why they're wrong. Don't be complicated. Don't take a long time to do it. Tell them the truth. You are a target for con artists. You believe things that con artists want you to believe. Republican voters are not informed voters. In fact, time and again, it is proven they are the least informed people in the country. You do not know how the world works. Stop making it worse by being a mark for con artists. Otherwise, go on being weak. Otherwise, we continue to be less than we could. Otherwise, we all suffer and our allies die. Let's see what y'all have to say. Lord, put somebody in timeout. I'm sorry. Well, Greg Brady, I'm a fan of your show. The Mike's Dead Show. I'm Gen X, so I remember the U.S. When it wasn't in a wartime economy. 2 decades. Paris Accords to Gulf War I. My word. Richard Hinckley, thank you, by the way. Being a member for 6 months. My word. The difference is that Obama/Democrats have expectations on them. Republicans are expected to simply to be our enemies. I think that's Richard Hinckley. That's him following up with Obama was pretty disappointing. Yeah. DJX might have to dip in on the fact checks with that, always. Mars Falcon. Alabama was founded as Amabala, but within 10 years, the residents recognized just how back-ass words they were and immediately changed the name accordingly. Last good thing that state ever did. Well done. Oh, mercy me. Tinkerbell enjoying the new emoji. I'm delighted. Oh, let's jump up. I just saw 1776. Oh, Gladius Ostensis. Denmark is sending them arms. We can't even get together enough to help them because of Republicans. True. True. Groove Dragon. Did you mean years U.S. has been at peace since 1776? The U.S. has only been at peace for 17 years. American colonists took up arms against Britain to win independence. That is true. Since 1776, 17 years of peace. Before that, Europeans killing indigenous people. Yeah. Donald James X. I don't know what's wrong with MAGA's minds. I think I'm starting to zero in on it. My thoughts are just this. I think they are nihilists. I think they're of the belief that everything is terrible and nothing can be done. And in that mindset, they say, why not see others suffer more than me? Maybe I'm wrong. I this week, with your help, I would like to figure out a new show format for talking to MAGA people. I will probably rely heavily on the mods, if I'm honest here, for helping me develop a personality I can put forward that results in the discussion being a discussion and not just your old pal Jake ranting. I've done this awkwardly, gang, but I have something I'd like to try. I would like to redirect in the end back to Matt's show. He's still live as far as I know. I didn't realize what he was doing tonight. I didn't realize it was a twofer. But that's what I got. So let's go see Matt. If you don't want to go hear an indie author reading a story, or if you don't want spoilers on the story that we're hearing, arrivederci. Thank you for joining me. If you like the show, please share it. Please give it a thumbs up, and get a full body, like a full back tattoo. In the old English lettering, WYCD on it. Really, I'm talking, I want to see shoulder to shoulder, full tattoo. Don't do that. It sounds painful. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.